The transport shuttle, a dented and scarred thing of mismatched plates, shuddered as it broke atmo. In its cargo hold, which doubled as a living space, the man sat at the controls, his knuckles white. Below, the sprawling imperial pleasure city of Xylos Prime glittered like a festering jewel. Somewhere in its opulent heart, she was held. The mission parameters were simple, a whisper from a resistance cell with more hope than intel. A political prisoner of high value, held in the off-world suite of the governor. Extract her. A blow against the cruel, expansionist empire that had claimed a dozen human colonies. He was just a tool for the job, a forgotten soldier from a forgotten regiment, good at breaking into places and breaking people out. The infiltration was a masterclass in controlled violence. The Imperial Guards, proud in their polished carapace armor, were efficient but predictable. He was neither. Using judicious applications of stun charges, misdirection, and the kind of close-quarters combat they didn't teach in Imperial academies, he became a ghost in the marble halls. He found the suite behind a door of carved nightwood, bypassed the genetic lock with a vial of blood stolen from a careless servant, and stepped inside. The room was not a cell. It was a gilded cage of immense luxury. Silks drifted from ceilings, a fountain trickled sweet-scented oil, and the viewport displayed the galaxy in a breathtaking panorama. She stood in the center, her back to him, looking at the stars. She was tall, slender, her skin the color of twilight, with a cascade of fine, silver filaments where a human would have hair. She wore a gown of intricate, restrictive beauty. She turned, and her eyes, large and luminous like captured nebulas, held no fear, only a deep, weary calculation. "You are not one of my jailers," she said. Her voice a soft chime translated by his implant. "I'm here to take you away from them," he replied, his own voice rough from disuse. He tossed her a compact bundle from his pack. "Put this on. We have a small window." She did not move to catch the clothes. "Who sent you?" "People who oppose the Empire." "It doesn't matter. Do you want to leave or not?" A flicker of something unreadable passed through her nebula eyes. Then she nodded. She changed with swift, efficient movements, the utilitarian flight suit looking profoundly alien on her graceful frame. The escape was tighter. Alarms began to wail. He led, she followed with an unsettling silence, her step sure and quiet. They fought their way to a service duct, blew an exterior hatch, and launched into the cold vacuum. His suit thrusters carrying them both to the waiting shuttle as security skiffs began to swarm. Once aboard and racing for the jump point, he finally breathed. He slid into the pilot's couch, initiating the pre-sequence. She stood in the doorway of the cockpit, observing. "You fight with a singular focus," she stated. "They took my homeworld," he said simply. "Focus comes easy. They take many things," she replied, her tone inscrutable. She moved to the co-pilot's station, her long fingers tracing the human-designed controls with curious delicacy. "This vessel is a relic. It flies. It's free. That's all that matters." After the jump, in the strange silence of faster-than-light travel, he learned a little. She answered questions with precise, minimal phrases. She was a political prisoner, yes, held for years. Her family was gone. She expressed gratitude, but it was formal, distant, like a queen thanking a guardsman. He assumed it was trauma, the shock of sudden liberation. He gave her space, tending to his ship and his wounds. They made a supply stop at Port Wander, a grimy bolt hole on the fringe of Imperial space. He went to trade for food cells and reactor coils, leaving her in a secluded corner of a public data hub, a hood drawn over her distinctive features. When he returned, he saw her not at a public terminal, but at a premium diplomatic console, its access lights glowing a soft gold. She was speaking in low, urgent tones into a shielded mic. He froze, using the crowd as cover. He saw the symbol on the console's bezel, one he had seen on Imperial dreadnoughts. The crest of the continuum, the royal seal. His blood went cold. The pieces, jagged and sharp, began to click into a terrible picture. The luxury of her captivity, not a cell, but a palace suite. Her calm, her poise, the utter lack of disorientation. The way she studied his ship systems not with wonder, but with analysis. He confronted her back in the shuttle, the hatch sealed. "Who were you contacting?" She turned, the hood now down. Her expression was no longer that of a rescued victim. It was serene, imperial. "Securing our passage. The net around this vessel is tightening. I have diverted 3 patrol groups with a priority code." "Priority code," he echoed. "What are you?" "I am what the Empire requires," she said. She drew herself up, and the dim cargo hold lights seemed to frame her. The governor of Xylos Prime was not my jailer. He was my protector, my regent. I am the last scion of the imperial dynastic line. My father, the emperor, died 7 years ago. The Regency Council has been ruling and searching for me since a faction tried to seize me as a puppet. My captivity was a sanctuary until my majority, which, by the cycles, began the day you arrived. The words hung in the recycled air. He felt the deck plating beneath his boots become the precipice of an abyss. He had not pulled a victim from the fire. He had stolen the Empire's greatest treasure. "You used me," he said, the words flat. "You liberated me," she corrected. The region's security had been compromised. The traitors were hours from finding me. Your resistance cell's information was a leak I facilitated. You were the perfect instrument. Unaffiliated, skilled, and morally compelled. My escape needed to be authentic, violent, and untraceable back to the Regent. You provided all of that. Rage, hot and bitter, boiled in his gut. He had been a pawn. Every risk, every blow struck, was for a cause that was the very opposite of his own. He had handed the enemy its future ruler. "I should take you back," he growled, his hand moving to his sidearm. "You could try," she said, and there was no threat in her tone, only certainty. "But you will not. You are a man of principle. You fight for liberation. Tell me, Liberator, what is more liberating for trillions of souls than a wise ruler ascending to a rightful place?" He stared. "Wise? You are the Empire. Your fleets have glassed my cities. And under the Regency Council, they will glass 100 more," she said, stepping closer. Her nebula eyes held him. "I have studied our empire from within a gilded cage. I have seen its sickness, its cruel efficiency, its rot. The Council consolidates power for war without end. I do not. My first act upon my return will be to disband the Regency and recall the 3rd Expansion Fleet from the rimward frontier, including the sector containing your home colony." It was a dart, aimed perfectly at his heart. He said nothing. "The Empire is a weapon," she continued, her voice softening. "It can be aimed. It has been aimed at conquest for generations. I wish to aim it elsewhere, towards stability, towards internal growth. But to do that, I must first hold the hilt. You have placed the hilt in my hand. You have given me not just my freedom, but the freedom to change the course of the stars." He wanted to hate her. He wanted to dismiss it as lies, the cunning words of a royal bred to manipulate. But he remembered her in the data hub, not cowering, but commanding. He saw no cruelty in her, only a chilling, profound resolve. She was not a victim. She was a sovereign in exile, and he had been her unlikely, unwitting champion. "What happens now?" he asked, the fight draining from him, replaced by a vast, weary confusion. "Now," she said, "you complete your mission." You deliver me to the coordinates I will provide. A loyalist fleet awaits. And then you'll be free. And if I just fly away, then the Empire continues its current path. Your homeworld remains a target. And I will eventually be found by the traitors, made into a figurehead for their wars. The outcome you fear is guaranteed. The choice was an illusion, and they both knew it. He was trapped in the narrative he himself had enacted. The Liberator had to see his liberation through, even if it liberated a future he could scarcely comprehend. The shuttle dropped from FTL at the designated nexus. Space itself was torn by the arrival of vast shadows. Imperial battleships, sleek and terrible, filled the viewport. Their shuttle was engulfed, drawn into the gleaming cavern of a flagship's hangar bay dot. As the hatch opened, a phalanx of royal guards in gleaming white armor knelt in perfect unison. A regal figure in ministerial robes approached, tears in his eyes, and bowed so low his forehead touched the deck. Your Radiance. The continuum is whole again. She descended the ramp, the simple flight suit now looking like a royal garment. At the threshold, she paused and looked back at him. Still standing in the cockpit doorway, a ragged man in a ragged ship surrounded by impossible grandeur. You asked what you are, she said, her voice carrying in the silent hangar. You are the man who stole an empire's future. And in doing so, you may have just given it a soul. The debt is mine. Name your reward. A world of your own? A fleet? He looked past her, at the kneeling lords of the empire that had broken his life. He thought of his lost colony, of the recall order she would give. He thought of the immense, terrifying gamble she represented. Just a promise, he said, his voice rough but clear. Aim it well. A slow, solemn nod. Witness me. The hatch sealed. His shuttle, dismissed, was gently towed away from the flagship, back into open space. He sat alone in the sudden, immense quiet, the stars sharp and cold outside.